Hi, this is Rabbi Plesent, and you are listening to You've Always Belonged Here, Temple Israel of Westport's new podcast. Each week, we will share moments from the Bima given by our clergy team or conversations with members of our staff or community. It's been such a blessing after the birth of our first child, Elijah, to have these last 12 weeks to be at home on parental leave. It truly is a blessing, and I'm very grateful to this community for allowing me to spend so much time with him in his first 3 months of life. I really tried to spend as many precious seconds as possible with him, but there was one night when I ventured out a little bit. The longest, since he's been born, the single longest amount of time that I've been away from him was my birthday this year, when I spent time with really one of my rabbis, one of my most influential rabbis, Bruce Springsteen, was playing at Barclays Center, and I was there, sleep-deprived and all, to take in his concert. Aside from the impressiveness of a 76-year-old performing a 3-hour concert the same way that he did 50 years ago, there was one section in this concert, in this show, that was particularly striking to me. Bruce said, I wrote this down, "From the beginning, America was born out of disagreement. It's an argument. It's an ongoing, blessed, sacred argument about what course the country should take to form that more perfect union. We can argue about these things and still recognize our common humanity, our dignity, and our unity." He said this. I turned to my friend who I was with at the concert and said, "That might be the most Jewish sentence anyone has ever spoken." Why? The idea of sacred argument is simply paramount to our tradition as Jews. The entire Talmud, centuries and centuries of conversation and debate and argument, preserved always with the minority opinions included, so that future generations could learn not just the laws or the customs, but the conversations and the debates that led to those decisions being made in their time. Judaism has always stressed this idea. There's a rabbinic phrase, machloket l'shem shamayim, an argument that is made for the sake of heaven. But for many of us, Reformed Jews, who don't necessarily see Talmud as central to our life and our way of being, maybe this argument isn't the best for how we should live today. Interestingly, though, the best example perhaps of what I would call this idea of sacred argument comes not from Talmud. This idea, which is central to who we are both as Americans and as Jews, actually comes way, way earlier. This idea is deeply, deeply rooted in our Torah. And in particular, of course, it's in this week's Torah portion. Not the main character of Pinchas, this conversation around zealotry and leadership and rebellion, but later on in the Torah portion, we learn about a man named Zelophehad. And Zelophehad has 5 daughters: Hogla, Tirzah, Mal'ah, Milcah, and Noah. 5 daughters. And Zelophehad dies, and according to the laws and customs of the Jewish community at that time, his property would be passed on to his oldest son. What's the problem? He has 5 daughters. So the daughters do not inherit his property. Now they have an issue with this. And the 5 daughters seek an audience with Moses, and they say, "We want to be included. We feel like we are the rightful descendants of our father. It was his land. We are his children. We deserve this land. We know, we're not arguing. We know that it is not the custom as it stands today, But the argument we're making is that it should be. We deserve to inherit our father's land. Moses takes this argument, this conversation, this debate to God. And God says, yes, you should change the law, change the custom, and the daughters of Zelophehad should inherit their father's land. They simply say, we want to be included, and they are. What an example for us today in 2026 on this semiquincentennial weekend, a reminder that we are all included. We are all a part of this great nation, even and perhaps especially when we disagree. One of the ideals, one of the beautiful things about this country is where we can express our protests or disagreements or disappointment. Lots of varying points of view with one another and still see each other with decency, with human dignity. To see each other, even amidst disagreement and dissent, as working together toward the key ongoing project of America, even 250 years in, to make this union more perfect. We've acknowledged from the start that this union is not a perfect one, but that our goal each and every day is to strive to make it more perfect. And the lesson from this week's Torah portion, so deeply rooted in our Jewish tradition and Jewish values, can help us do that. On this weekend, when we celebrate where we've been as a nation, the 250 years that have led to this moment, let us also recommit to the value that is both deeply Jewish and deeply American, of sacred argument. Because that value is the only way this country will continue to be great for the next 250 years and beyond. Many of us in this room have different viewpoints on practices of Judaism, on Israel, on American democracy, on certain political aspects within American democracy, or even synagogue politics. But we all have different values, and we all come here together to be a part of this sacred community. And so when we discuss, debate, even argue, we do so with that value that is so deeply Jewish. To see one another with decency and to have conversations with people with whom we disagree, so that we can continue to move forward. Because when we do that, when we are able to begin to have sacred arguments, when we are able to begin to speak to someone, to speak to people with whom we disagree, especially with whom we disagree, we help make manifest one of the things that truly makes this nation great. That each one of us belong here. We may disagree, we may have different opinions, but each one of us belong here. That no matter what you believe, this land is truly made for you and for me. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of You've Always Belonged Here. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Temple Israel, visit our website, tiwestport.org, follow us on Instagram at Temple Israel Westport, or like us on Facebook, Temple Israel of Westport, Connecticut.